What's up, YouTube world? Problems talking football. Back here again, week 12. The year's going on, I'm getting more and more depressed. We're almost done. Then what the hell are we going to do? We got the NFL for a little bit, and then nothing. Then we got to watch basketball. We got to wait through baseball, and then we got to wait for all that other mess to get done until next season. But until then, we got week 12. Let's go back over our exciting week of week 11. Had some really, really good games. Things are starting to spice up, and things are pretty much getting ready to be written in stone for a couple teams, couple conference divisions, I guess. But let's start off. We had A&M beat Auburn. A lot of people didn't see that coming. A&M started off firing this year, and they had some skid marks. They had a lot of slides, and boy, they came right back and they beat Auburn. They looked good doing it too. I don't know what this says for the SEC West. I know everybody's got games left. Auburn's got Georgia this weekend. Alabama's got Mississippi State, and then of course Auburn has Alabama. Mississippi State has Ole Miss still. So, that whole side of that conference is still got a ways to go, even though we only got really 3 weeks left, or three, big games left for a couple of people. Next one was Oregon smashed Utah. Oregon, it seems like they either are there or they're not. Sometimes they just straight crush people, and then sometimes it seems like we don't even know who they are, because they just don't look like the same ball club. But Oregon smashed Utah. Alabama LSU is another good one in that rivalry right there. Went into some overtime. Alabama pulled it off. LSU had a lot of opportunities to win. But, we can't say coulda, woulda, shoulda. You didn't. And Alabama came away with a win, so roll tide. TCU smashed Kansas State and Snyder and company. TCU is a team to be watched because they are beating people badly, really badly, and they're not someone that should be passed over right now. I think they should win out the rest of their schedule. I don't see anybody else giving them a hard time. So, playoff committee's going to have a little something to say about that. Ohio State beat Michigan State. Now, nobody saw that one coming. Ohio State, they still have a loss on the record to this right here. Where at week 2 after the game, everyone thought, well, them Hokies are back. Well, they're not, and they're terrible. So it looks like instead of just Ohio State got beat by a good team, it's Ohio State got beat by a fluke and a not good team at all. So that loss is going to affect their resume a lot, especially if Virginia Tech doesn't even make a bowl game. They're 4-5 right now. They've got Duke this weekend, then they've got Wake Forest, and then they go to Virginia. So, the Hokies don't start playing better, they're not going to be bowling this year, and it's going to be a snap on the second longest bowl streak in the country. So, yeah, to all you Tech fans out there, yeah, it's been a tough couple seasons, and this one isn't any better. It's getting worse. But on to the other stuff. Baylor beat Oklahoma. Smashed Oklahoma, actually. I know Oklahoma's quarterback is not going to be playing this week. For some reason, I didn't read the whole article, but yeah. Baylor's another one of those teams that they're a good club, and they might get caught watching the playoffs from outside the bubble. And last but not least, Texas beat West Virginia. Now, West Virginia taking it close with TCU. They had some wins this year. I really despise being a diehard Virginia Tech fan, giving West Virginia any credit at all. So, um, go Longhorns, and I'm glad that they beat up on the Mountaineers. A couple of leaders were Washington State's quarterback went 44 for 61 for 471 yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, do you guys run the ball? Do you know how to run the ball? Or do you just choose not to because your guy can throw 8 million yards and 100 touchdowns? I mean, do what you do. Um, the tailback from New Mexico had 24 carries for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns. Very, very impressive, even though it may be the Lobos. And Coleman from Baylor had 15 catches for 224 yards and a touchdown. So them Baylor boys like to throw the foosball around. Yeah, so they got on that. All right, man, your conference wraps. You know, you got to stay with the SEC. Not much of this has changed all year. There really hasn't, I mean, at all. The SEC's reigned supreme, even though there might have been a couple of slight question marks at the beginning of the year. There's no question there. The amount of talent down there, and it's not going to change. Florida State's got a big one this weekend against Miami. I think it's going to be closer than people think. If Duke Johnson gets loose on that one, it might get scary. But we'll talk about that later. Pac-12 comes in second. Of course, it's the Pac-12. They've still got talent, and they've got people at Washington State and Cal that could just keep throwing the football, and they're probably going to throw for literally 70 touchdowns between the two teams this year. I mean, you never know, because literally the kid threw 5. I think he threw 6 or 7 against Cal. So I mean, who knows? The boys are crazy out there. Big 12, obviously. I mean, there's no question there. And then you got the Big 10 after that. Who knows what Michigan State's doing, because now Ohio State's beating up on them. And Ohio State looks like a good team, which Virginia Tech beat them. So I guess the sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then. And of course, dead last is the ACC. I mean, besides for Florida State, Clemson's okay. Duke's not bad. Miami, if they can figure out how to play every game and every down, they might be okay. Besides that, there's nothing there. Louisville, it's the ACC. We might just want to stick to basketball. If Florida State drops one to Miami, and if Florida State drops one, that's it. I don't see them getting back into the playoff picture just because of their strength of schedule. The only reason they're holding on now is because they're winning streak and they won the national title last year and they're still undefeated. So that's the only reason they're still there. They drop one, they're out of the playoff picture, because there's nobody that's going to take a one-loss Florida State team over a one-loss Mississippi State, a one-loss Alabama, a one-loss Oregon, a one-loss Auburn, a one-loss. There's too many factors there. There's too many people. A one-loss TCU team. There's too many factors, and there's too much talent in every other conference that people are winning for Florida State to drop one and stay in the playoff picture. As much as it hurts me to say that, because I have a lot of good friends that are Florida State fans, it's not going to happen. One loss, Florida State's done, and they better watch it against Miami this weekend, because that one's going to be close. We got some really big games this weekend that are going to pretty much yay or nay on some people as far as their divisions and their conferences go. Starting off with Alabama and Mississippi State. This is a big one for the Bulldogs. They've been riding high all year. They've won some big games. Alabama dropped one to Ole Miss. Okay. I remember a Florida team dropped one to an Ole Miss team a long time ago and ended up winning the national title. Okay. This is the same Alabama team that smashed A&M, and I do mean smashed Texas A&M, who just beat Auburn. Don't underestimate Alabama. Not to mention, everybody remember this, Dak Prescott's quarterback coach is the same one who coached Tim Tebow. Now, if anybody wants to look back on history, Nick Saban's Crimson Tide beat Tim Tebow his senior year badly in the SEC championship, and they were heavily favored. Do not underestimate the power of Nick Saban and that Alabama team. They have talent. They have probably the best coach in the country, and they are not to be overlooked. Okay, not to be overlooked. I'm going to take Alabama in that game. Maybe not by a big win, but Nick Saban's going to have them boys ready to go in a big time game. A lot of implications on that one. Lots of implications on that one. Because Mississippi State still got a tough road. They've got Alabama this weekend, and they're still going to play Ole Miss in the rivalry game, which we always see it, week in and week out when rivalries come to town. All bets are off. There is no, there's heart, hatred, pride, bragging rights. It doesn't matter. Rivalry games are everything, and Mississippi State's still got a tough road to go. Florida State and Miami. Now, through the years, this rivalry has not so much here in the past, call it 5 to 8 years. It hasn't really had the glamour that it did in the late 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. Nevertheless, Miami is a good team, and if Miami's playing, if Duke Johnson catches fire in that game, I don't give a shit who he's playing. The kid might be one of the best tailbacks, if not the best well, he's one of the best. He's not Todd Gurley, but he's one of the best tailbacks in the country, okay? This kid gets loose, and it's going to be ugly for Florida State. The Florida State Seminoles cannot keep falling behind every game, week in and week out, no matter who they're playing, and keep coming back to win. It's just, that's not, it just doesn't even make sense. Eventually you're going to drop one. I'm going to say Florida State. It's going to be close, and they better not be sleeping on Miami. It's going to be a good game. It's a bit of rivalry. Wide left, wide right. The U versus Chief Osceola. It's going to be a good game. We got Ohio State, Minnesota. The Golden Gophers, here and there, they're actually ranked. So, go figure. I got to take the Buckeyes as much as I hate to say it. I think Urban Meyer's going to have a tough time down there next year. I mean, I understand you got Braxton Miller coming out. The way TJ Barrett's played the rest of the year since the Virginia Tech game, that's going to be tough to take him out. He's taken the team this year as a freshman, and he's doing really well with it. They just beat Michigan State, and that's not an easy game to win. And if the Virginia Tech fluke hadn't happened, Ohio State would be right up in the mix right now. Okay, they'd be right in a friggin' thick of things, probably behind Florida State with that win over Michigan State. But that's the world we live in. Nevertheless, Ohio State over Minnesota. We got the Civil War this weekend. We got Georgia and Auburn. Todd Gurley is coming back. As good as he is, I don't think Georgia's defense can play with Auburn, especially after Auburn taking that loss last week. They're going to be out with a vengeance, and they're out to beat somebody. I got to take Auburn, maybe by 10, actually. I don't think Georgia's defense is ready for those boys in that offense. We got LSU, Arkansas. LSU coming off a tough loss, and Arkansas always seems to upset somebody, and they haven't done it this year. Can they do it with LSU? I don't know. I think it's going to be close. I'm going to take LSU, but it might be one to watch. And I got Utah-Stanford marked down. Now, Stanford has fallen off the face of the map as far as this year goes. They are still a pretty good. I mean, I think they're an okay team still. I mean, they just had some bad losses, and they've dropped some games that they probably shouldn't have. But it shit happens. So it is what it is. I'm taking Stanford over Utah this week. That's going to be my pick, my little upset. That's all I got for Problems Talking Football for Week 12, you guys. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, PT Football, and email me at problemstalkingfootball@gmail.com. Hope everybody has a great weekend and enjoy week 12 of college football. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.